Alright, I've been playing around with giving it a sense of vision, and originally I just had these sensors mounted up here with some double back tape just to kind of try out some ideas, and those were proved to be working, so I decided to make something a little bit more permanent. First prototype was this. I was going to start out and put a big cutout in the center to help save weight. I'm trying to keep the weight of any of the bracketry I'm putting on here down as much as possible. But I ended up not really liking that big hole in the center, and decided to change the design a little bit. So instead of just having the one big hole, I took out some material on the sides to help take down some of the weight, and also took off a bunch of the material on the back side with some angles and some large holes in there to take out even more of the weight. But made this a very, very snug fit. These guys fit in here they'll almost stay put with just the pressure from fitting into that slot. So they fit very, very nicely in there. Just held on with a single, I think it's a number 3 screw. 440 was just a little bit too big, so with a number 3 and some nuts for it, and it just holds the sensor in place and there, and then the sensors fit nice and flush with the front face of that. And then we've got a little bit of stick out here to make sure if it ever whacks into something that it doesn't whack the sensors directly. So they're recessed just a little bit back from the nose of the robot. That's been working pretty well. It's kept it from bashing them into things as it's been rolling around. So that's what I spent my Saturday working on, and now I'll show you what I spent my Friday working on, which was changing the behavior model for the robot a little bit. So I'll go ahead and let it start out. The way I've programmed it is right now it has 3 behaviors. The top priority is to avoid impacts. So it will, anytime it senses something with the IR sensors, that the avoid behavior takes over, and it backs away and makes a right turn of some random number of degrees. It can be anywhere, I think, from 70 degrees to 140 degrees of turn that it will make. The second priority behavior is what I called watch. So that would be where it's going to monitor the intrusion detection sensors that I'm going to put on it later. In order to do that, it has to stop and be quiet for a period of, well, at least a minute, but I'm probably going to make it about 2, maybe 3 minutes. So once it moves forward and picks a position, then it's going to sit there for a while and monitor those sensors. The IR sensors for movement have to have a quiet period in order to adjust to the room. So it's going to sit there and let that quiet period expire, and then it's going to watch for a little while. And then once the time expires on watch, then it goes on to the patrol behavior. The patrol behavior is just basically to move 5 feet. I think it's 5 feet, it could be 6. 5 feet forward, and then if it doesn't bump into anything, then it makes a small random direction change, but it should continue to generally move in the same direction. So the idea behind that was that it's making progress. I don't want it to just randomly bump into things all over the room. I want it to kind of make progress in a particular direction. I have a kind of L-shaped house, so got a long corridor here and then another kind of long corridor into the living room. So I want it to more or less kind of patrol back and forth between those points, so once it gets an open area and can start making longer moves, that's what I want it to do. So it's not your typical roaming robot where you'll see it just continuously moving around, bumping into things. The only time it really continuously moves is when it's actually started bumping into things or it's gotten into a tight spot. So it'll just keep kind of moving forward, bumping and avoiding, and then eventually it'll get itself out into an open area again. So I'll shut up now and go ahead and just start it up. Okay, now it went to avoid. Okay, so there it's finished its patrol, and now it's gone into watch mode. You can see that that second LED is lit there. That's my indicator for which mode that they're in. The bottom LED is patrol, that one is watch, and then the top LED is avoid. And then that blinking LED tells me how much battery power it's got left. So a single blink is anything above 60%. 2 blinks is anything above 30%. And 3 blinks is anything between 0 and 30%. So once it starts blinking 3 times, it's getting pretty close to the end of its juice. So it sits in this watch behavior for a little while. In the editing, I'm going to spare you the sitting here and watching it just sit at my floor. Okay, so we're off and patrolling again. Now we're going to go into avoid. And we'll go into watch behavior again. So that's the basics of it. I'm going to kind of send it into a corner over here and let you see what happens when it gets into a tight spot. So we'll just redirect it a little bit. So we've got a little tight corner over there, and once it turns on and heads that way, you'll see how the behaviors kind of cooperate. Okay, now it's going to go terrorize my dog. But you see there, the avoid behavior is re-triggered anytime it's on the move. The way that the subroutines basically work is that they're all, none of them actually block, so they don't take over control. Each one gets its shot to take a look at the sensors and decide if it needs to do anything, or to take a look at how much time has passed or stuff like that. So that's how you can have the lower level patrol behavior, and then that can just be interrupted in the middle of it by the avoid behavior. It's gotten another little tight corner here, and it should go ahead and scoot on out. Now just to show you, even though it's sitting in that watch mode and it is waiting for a particular period of time to expire, it's not blocking while it's in there and waiting. If I come up to it and put my foot next to it, it will back up and get away from my foot. So everybody else, all the other behaviors are still getting their shot to decide whether they need to do something or not. And so in watching it move around, I came to a couple of conclusions. I originally had my avoid behavior to back up and spin in a random direction. And that actually turned out to be a bad deal, because what kept happening was that it would back up and it would decide to spin right. And then it would run into something. Then it would back up and decide to spin left. And then it would go back and run into whatever it had just run into just a second ago. Then it would back up and it would spin right. And it would just kind of oscillate back and forth. Only every so often would it stop with that oscillation and actually start to make some progress. So what I determined was it was actually better for it to back up and turn in a single direction each time, rather than to randomly back up or randomly choose a direction. Once I get more of the robot built, we're going to have some sensors up here that can scan, some sonar sensors, so it will actually be able to make a more intelligent decision about which way it wants to turn. So when it backs up, it'll check the surroundings and decide which area is more open, and it will turn in that direction instead of just going the same direction every time. But that's where it stands now.